Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board Flight to Youth 22. We are currently first in line for takeoff and are expected to be on air in approximately 20 seconds' time. We ask that you please fasten your seatbelts at this time and turn off any distractions as your full attention is highly appreciated. Before we begin, let us first correct our niyat lillahi ta'ala and open both our hearts and minds. Thank you for choosing Legends Airline of Kasan. We hope you enjoy your flight.
Assalamualaikum and welcome to Flight to Youth channel. I'm Nazira, your captain for today's episode. In this episode, we are going to dive into a topic on how to become a memory master with our invited speaker. So, before we start our discussion on the topic, let us welcome Ms. Hamiza from University of Alexandria to give a brief introduction about herself first. Tafadhali. Silakan.
Okay. Hi, my name is Hamiza. You can call me Miza saja. I think that's what Nuha calls me juga. I'm a third year medical student in Alexandria University. So now I'm in Egypt.
Alright, thank you, Ms. Hamiza, for such a wonderful and great introductions. And without further ado, let's jump straight into today's discussion topic, how to become a memory master. So, Ms. Hamiza, how to become a memory master? What is or are the best ways or techniques do you think, according to your personal experiences, for an individual to actually become a master in memorization? And to make the question be more specific, memorization in this context refers to memorizing important points or maybe notes or even lines, formula, or terminologies from text. And when it comes to text, it could be from notes or textbooks or even thesis or any textual medium, for example, kajian-kajian lepas dan sebagainya.
Like to me, it's nice to differentiate between memorizing and remembering. Like to me, those two bunyinya kan sama, tapi there's actually a big difference lah to me. Macam remembering is something like you do, like you remember unconsciously, like something you're able to recall unconsciously. Meanwhile, as memorizing, it's kind of macam active. Like you try to remember something actively. Macam for example, menghafal Quran. Like in that case, that's memorizing, not remembering. In terms of my uni, kan medical school is known to have macam a lot of memorizing kan, like not remembering but actually memorizing. So at first it did take a while to learn how to memorize, like the most efficient way and the fastest way. Like if you compare dulu, macam kan we both took STPUB kan, like
Yes.
our subjects, we took tafsir together. Walaupun both atu macam menghafal sudah, tapi when in medical school atu macam menghafal juga, tapi lain wah caranya menghafal atu. Macam dulu the way we hafal is macam we have to read something balik-balik and then until tani ingat, and then lepas itu we move on to the next ayat and then ni baca lagi balik-balik sampai ingat, and then we repeat 1 and 2 cuma tu. Tapi here we can't really do that pasal it's not sentence by sentence. You have to remember, you have to hafalkan facts and macam pathways apa. So for me di sini, one thing that the thing is yang in common yang dulu sama now is that you have to faham. Macam you know, like our teachers selalu cakap dulu, mesti faham walaupun kamu yang dah hafal, yang penting faham. Apparently it also applies here. Like for example, if you're talking about ubat, for example, macam kalau kan menghafal macam membabi buta, macam okay, ubat ni side effectnya ni, ubatnya side effectnya ni. Daripada menghafal cuma tu, it's better to understand dulu kenapa side effectnya cuma tu. So yeah, itu like one of the things yang masih sama lah yang I apply macam dari dulu sampai now. Like faham is the main point lah ha. And then, you know, macam some things ada macam kan sama lagi bunyinya. Like for example, if you're trying to memorize 2 different things, and then these 2 different things ni macam kan sama bunyinya, or macam kan sama usulnya, macam it's macam sanang confusing. So in that case, it's also important to apa tu macam pandai-pandai do pattern recognition. Like macam pattern recognition tu as in macam like noticing the similarities between two things macam it's another step above memahami. Like it also requires understanding, and then after that it's pattern recognition. Make sense ka apa yang aku cakap?
Yes, faham. For example, macam
Faham?
let's say in the Quran kita ni ada ya ayyuhalladzina amanu. At this page 1 ada ya ayyuhalladzina amanu. And then second page, third page ada juga the same phrase ya ayyuhalladzina amanu. So the technique untuk differentiate is to actually be familiar with the pattern of the ayat itu. For example, the first one ini ia cakap pasal apa? Dia punya topik. So biasanya ia punya sambungan memang dah sama dengan yang the second one daripada second page, and even the third one daripada third page. So understanding and acknowledging the pattern of each ayat yang macam sama tu can be actually helpful untuk kita ni menghafal ayat Quran lah misalnya, and this thing also applies to other ilmu lah, for example macam and so on.
Macam I just remembered ada this one time kan my lecturer ia kan cuba ingatkan like this ubat ia punya side effect-nya banyak. So macam it's hard to hafalkan kalau side effect-nya banyak kan. So the doctor selalu cakap macam ni, ubat ani ia mesti 18 plus saja. So artinya semua side effect-nya tu related to kanak-kanak macam growing. Like for example ubat itu it might cause macam for example mental retardation. Pasal kanak-kanak masih growing kan diorang punya brain, and then it might cause macam lumpuh pasal diorang punya tulang is still growing. Macam it might cause deafness pasal diorang punya nerves untuk macam telinga diorang itu still growing. So macam to me pattern recognition is also very important lah in order to remember things and also memorize things easily. And then what else Anything to add, Nuha?
So far, actually ada, tapi mine is more towards yang Arabic punya medium course lah compared to yang English punya medium. So I think it's better kalau we focus first on the English medium punya course, and then next one tani move to maybe on how to memorize the Quran or the tips in memorizing the Quran perfectly, as well as how can we become a memory master when it comes to Arabic medium punya modules.
I think one thing yang can also apply for both Arabic modules and also macam academic modules is macam application kala. For example, like in medicine, again, memorizing is a bit challenging kan. So it's nice if you can apply something, you should apply it. For example, like you learn that this ubat is used to treat migraines, for example. So the next time you have a migraine, you think lah macam, apa yang masa tu aku belajar yang dapat tulong migraine gitu. So macam that, walaupun you don't really apply it benar-benar, it's just a thinking process ataupun kira enough sudah untuk remember stuff. Macam like banyak kan macam especially like with health it's easy to apply bagiku lah. Pasal macam everyone is living honest obviously. So macam it's easy to apply things yang you learn from uni ara orang. For example, you learn macam jaundice is, for example, a yellow discoloration of someone's skin. And the possible causes are this. So when you see, the next time you see someone yang kulitnya kuning berabis, yang matanya pun kuning, so you would think macam, orang ini ada masalah liver kah? Macam in that case that's application. Also macam maybe kalau in terms of Arabic kan, di sini Egypt is an Arab speaking country kan. So I had no choice but to learn Arabic. Kira macam dari awal lah. Hindi lang dari awal, tapi basically the structure I have to forget apa yang I learned during my last 8 years di sekolah Arab to learn balik Arabic di sini. So macam application is very important di sini. Macam I have to keep talking to Arabs or else I will forget.
Yeah, I think it's similar to kalau kita ni belajar something to do with computer. For example, kita ni belajar how to use Excel, how to use Microsoft Office and so on. So it's better kalau kita ni apply it straight to the point rather than focusing on the theory punya part, because focusing on the theory punya part without having any application ataupun kalau kami istilahnya tatbik. Kita ni praktikkan, payah kita ni kan master using Microsoft Office, for example. Yes lah. So I think the point on application pun ni in the terhad lah untuk kita ni apply, praktikkan dalam sehari-hari. It could be macam teaching. Teaching pun kira part of application juga. Because we teach what we understand other people. And then kalau kita ni salah, ada orang dapat perbaiki ataupun perbetulkan kita ni punya statement.
Ya, macam masak juga kan. Macam tani menghafal resipi itu baik pun, mun dia di-apply, dia juga pedah kan. Macam payah juga tu kan. Dia juga ingat benar, hafalkan resipi ni, stepsnya ni. Tapi mun sudah dibuat, macam it's way better for you to actually do the recipe daripada just hafalkan like that, paham?
Yes.
And also an important thing is also repetition juga kan. Macam just that macam kalau menghafal, let's say menghafal Quran, the repetition, the way you repeat the things you want to hafal is different from other things. Macam like in my course, macam the repetition it can be simply as melihat balik-balik the same thing, or macam just reading, macam just seeing just reading the same thing balik-balik, tapi hindi semestinya macam tutup mata macam membaca nyaring-nyaring atau macam dah semestinya.
Okay, faham. Kira macam just to help you be able to actually visualize the contents yang ada dalam the notes. Because once you have the ability to actually visualize the contents of the note, it will be helpful kalau, for example, masa exam, and then terbayang to project you punya page. And then what you need to do is just copy everything yang you manage to visualize.
Benar.
Just sebenarnya.
Macam juga kan, like let's say if you're learning something new, macam let's say masa ni I'm still learning Arabic kan. So there are some Arabic words yang I'm still not used to hearing. So I just use those words balik-balik saja until I memorize. Macam until I remember the meaning apa. Macam there's this word, my lecturer selalu cakap masa lecture, selalu cakapnya something mitlakbat. Aku cuma apa kan mitlakbat ni? So I asked my Arab friends kan, macam apa arti mitlakbat? Dia cakap artinya confused-nya. Macam confused lah. So ever since I found out, I've been using that word balik-balik sampai I remember. Macam kalau sekiranya orang itu cakap, kenapa kau kesini? Kenapa kau cakap ni? Aku cakap, sorry, aku mitlakbat macam aku tu confused. Cuma tu, macam sorry, aku confused. Macam sikit-sikit aku pakai that word itu sampai hafal.
And from my point of view or my perspective, pulang was having a background in Arabic medium which deals a lot with obviously Quran as well as kajian-kajian daripada yang ditulis dengan bahasa Arab kan. So I think kalau my point, I shall divide the technique itu into two lah kali. The first one will be focusing on Quran, and then the second one will be focusing on the Quran punya, other than Quran punya subjects lah. For example, it could be macam hadis and so on lah. So I know, and I also understand that it's totally undeniable saying there are many ways or techniques in memorizing stuff. Kita ni tahu, each individuals ada dorang punya ways on memorizing kan. But in my case, when it comes to Quran, the very first thing is to actually read the ayat you want to memorize with full attention. Ini important, with full attention and understanding dia punya makna.
Benar.
In this stage, it's also important to practice sabar juga. Because kalau kita ni kan menghafal sesuatu, kita ni akan dapat menghafal sekelip mata lah. Dia membutuhkan masa. So membutuhkan masa bermakna membutuhkan sabar. So kita ni perlu sabar dalam proses. So again, I repeat, the first point will be reading the ayat with full attention as well as understanding the meaning. Faham ni memang penting. Kalau anda faham, payah juga menghafal anda faham itu. Because for me, like nada impact kalau kita ni menghafal without faham. Nada impact towards our soul, for example. Yes. And then the second one will be begin with memorizing the Quran jumlah per jumlah. This is also important. Jumlah per jumlah means sentence per sentence or sentence by sentence and ayat per ayat. So for example, let's say kalau surah-surah pendek, memang kita ni tahu kan dia punya sentence-nya pendek-pendek, so senang sikit. Tapi kalau sentence-nya tu, let's say ayatnya tu panjang. What you need to do is untuk pecahkan dia punya ayat itu jadi jumlah sentence-sentence yang damit. So once you have the ability to actually hafal each sentence itu and then the next sentence, sampai you manage to hafal the first ayat itu, it'll be kira lebih mudah lah compared to focusing yourself on menghafal satu ayat itu at the same time. So if you focus on small one, baru small one saja dulu, eventually akan membantu kita ni menghafal benda yang banyak.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean, dia macam kira
faham?
if you want to achieve our goals, dia jangan kita ni focus on the long process kan. Kita ni perlu pecahkan dia jadi small process. So small process boleh lead kepada big result. Instead of focus banyak, tapi punya resultnya damit, something like that.
Tu. Yep.
Yes. And then the third point will be every time you add a sentence, contohlah kita ni kan add tambah hafalan, it is very important untuk kita ni ulang balik apa yang kita ni sudah hafal. For example, let's say surah Al-Asr, Wal-Asr. Kita ni cuba hafal Wal-Asr. Once kita ni hafal ayat pertama Wal-Asr, kita ni move to the next part kan tu, innal insana lafi khusr. So once kita ni hafal the innal insana lafi khusr, kita ni ulang balik daripada yang awal Wal-Asr, innal insana lafi khusr. And it continues until the end of surah Al-Asr lah. Ia kita ni ulang balik-balik apa yang kita ni sudah hafal. And when it comes to pengulangan ni, in the semestinya kita ni ulang secara verbally, it could be macam kita ni lihat saja, visualize.
Or tulis.
Yes, tulis pun boleh je. That one like lebih helpful lah. Cuma we need sabar. Because untuk menjadi master in something, memerlukan masa. Yang that can happen in one day ataupun one night or even 1 month. Kadang ia mengambil masa bertahun-tahun.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think the last one for, not the last one, the second last for the technique in memorizing the Quran will be repeat the steps until you finish memorizing the particular page of the Quran. Kita ni repeat balik step yang awal-awal lah. For example, faham, and then understand. Yes. Baca the ayat, and then begin memorizing jumlah per jumlah. And then lepas every time you want to add, ulang balik yang sudah dihafal. And then last one, another tips is to extract the first word of every ayat in a page on a piece of paper. So I know kadang macam kalau nya ayat pendek, sananglah sikit. Tapi kalau nya let's say ayatnya tu dalam satu page panjang, then sometimes dia punya words yang didapatnya tu confusing. So what you need to do is you need to extract the very first word, each first word daripada each ayat itu, and then put on a piece of paper. Kali lepas satu susun according to you punya anulah ayat. So from that it can helps you be familiar with the pattern. For example, the first ayat ni, okay, you punya awalnya macam mana. So from there you actually dapat continue you punya hafalannya. And then second ayat daripada page itu, you punya awalnya macam mana. Ani kadau dalam kalau kita ni belajar Quran biasanya kena panggil kepala ayat. Kepala ayat itu maybe the first phrase or the first word of each ayat. So kita ni hafal according to punya susunan, and then insyaAllah kita ni boleh menghafal dia punya page itu dengan susunan yang betul.
That's what Ustazah Tani dulu Quran ajarkan. Ya, ajar suruh buat catur, right?
Yes.
Baru aku ingat Ustazah tu, ya banyak catur, ya like the points you listed are actually like ya cuma tu kan dulu ya ajar Tani macam mana ngafal Quran.
Yes. And also banyak practice juga.
Juga like remember she used to do like kalau tanya ke Tani, suruh Tani hafal, tapi she also asked katanya ayat apa saja yang ada this word in it.
Yes.
Kira the approach is different bah. Kan normally like Cana kalau Tani ngafal biasa Tani baca ayat by ayat, tapi ani indah ya macam tanya dulu macam dari macam Cana tanya something so tiny yang you wouldn't be able to think yang she would ask. Macam dia tanya, okay, dalam surah ni ada berapa kali kena sebut ya ayyuhalladzina amanu. Artinya macam you need, in order to answer her question, you need to hafal benar-benar macam like dari atas ke bawah, dari siring ke siring, cuma tu dari bawah. Like you have to hafal from all points of view, not from just one point of view bah.
Yes.
I really think it's a good technique juga.
Yes, sama mesti benar-benar teliti.
Benar. And then actually I also started to apply that in medical school as well. Aku baru ingat. Macam for example, like, okay, aku bagi example macam side effects of medicines lah. Ha? Kami belajar for example, okay, this ubat ia punya side effect boleh cause allergy. Sekali ada ubat lain ni juga ia boleh cause allergy. Macam for example, macam penicillin ia boleh cause hypersensitivity, which is allergy. Ia boleh cause macam kalau terlampau banyak ia boleh cause hematologic toxicity, which is macam toxic arah darah lah. And then when we move on to another ubat, there's also macam another ubat namanya, let's say cephalosporin, ia boleh juga cause allergy macam tu. So macam in that case, instead of asking yourself, okay, penicillin apa saja side effect-nya, ini apa saja side effect-nya, you can ask macam the other way around. You can ask apa saja ubat yang boleh cause allergy, macam dari awal, like from the opposite direction you ask. I think that's a good way to macam train your brain. It's payah pulang, tapi it's good. Like you punya outcome berhabis worth it.
I think your points itu related to my next perspective ataupun next point of view, which is about other case beside Quran lah. Kalau tadi Quran kan, so now I think we move to another different case when it comes to other than Quran. So kalau my techniques when it comes to macam selain daripada Quran ni, it often circulates around few things lah. For example, the first one, okay, the first one masih sama. Read and understand the text. Okay, read and understand the text. And then the second one will be highlight or underline important points. For example, macam kita ni ada notes kan tu, it's important for me lah untuk highlight ataupun underline. Kadang dibagi box tu juga. So that my main focus atau every time I revise, I just focus on the one yang underline sama yang berbox ataupun berhighlight. Just to remember the points lah. And then the third one will be create your own questions. This is related to the one yang you mentioned today. Cuba ask questions. So create your own questions out of the given text. For example, kita ni kena bagi text lah kan. So instead of macam kita ni baca and then faham saja, why not you create your own questions? Recreate your own questions out of the text itu. For example, okay, text ni ia bercakap pasal description about human lah, contoh. Ataupun the description about our body system, contoh. So why not you create your own questions instead of membaca punya text, you create lah your own questions. For example, the question describe about human body system. And then titik. So just buat dia punya questions lah. So that you know you punya answer tu ada between the lines ataupun ada between the text itu. And then the fourth point, make use of acronyms wherever possible. I think masa sixth form, Ustazah Hamid Noni pernah mention about acronyms kan?
Yeah, and mnemonics.
Yes.
Yeah, dia suruh macam like keluarkan the letters of each awal itu and make a sentence or something about it. It's also helpful lah juga di sini. Tapi aku jarang buat pasal aku selalu nak terfikir.
Payah kan create like something macam acronyms yang boleh helpful benar-benar, yang boleh apa tu namanya, melekat di otak.
Yang ingat. Benar-benar.
Oh, I think the best technique is macam ano, if you remember additional mathematics yang quadrants, the 4 quadrants, ASTC.
Macam ingat je macam ini.
The 4 quadrants, ASTC. You know, actually, ASTC means A stands for all, and then S stands for
sine, cos, tan, okay.
Yes. So STC ni kadang ada macam payah kan, usulnya kan menghafal S ni apa artinya, T ni apa artinya. So masa tu teacher Ceki ada sarankan, katanya all science teacher crazy.
Oh yeah, benar.
So yeah, can you repeat again your points on mnemonics?
Regarding mnemonics, it's actually very helpful, tapi sometimes it's a bit hard to apply, especially if the words itu macam payahkan jadikan ayat. Macam for example, let's say I'm trying to memorize the side effects of this ubat namanya macrolides, and then side effectnya nomor 1 GIT upsets, nomor 2 cholestatic hepatitis, nomor 3 QT interval prolongation. And then the thing is, these 3 things, awalnya the first one it starts with a G, the second one it starts with a C, and then the third one it starts with a Q, huruf Q. So it's a bit hard to form a sentence with those words, especially yang Q itu. So in that case, it's to me it's a bit hard lah kalau can apply the mnemonics ato macam everywhere arah medicine. Maybe in some things boleh, tapi not all. Pasal kalau terlampau banyak ato, it might get confusing jua. And also jua kan mnemonics, yeah, like there's a certain order to it. Tapi macam meanwhile, like let's say if you're trying to memorize side effects, like the order is not really important. So macam it's hard to apply. Oh, by the way, like I keep on mentioning side effects. Pasal right now I'm looking at my wall, which is like my wall is currently filled with post-it notes, and like I wrote down all the side effects of each drug. That's why I keep on mentioning side effects. Like that's basically my way of repetition lah. Like I look at it balik-balik to the point aku hafal gitu.
So that's why macam side effects dari tadi.
That's why side effects dari tadi. Pasal like it's literally in front of me ba, like my post-it notes for side effects satu ba. Yeah, that's my way of trying to remember the side effects of medicines.
Yeah, so it could be like mnemonics or acronyms, but kalau in my case it's more towards acronyms rather than mnemonics, because kalau mnemonics dia perlu di-form sentence kan, you need to create your own sentence out of the letters. Tapi kalau acronym dia more lebih kepada macam for example NASA, NASA ataupun UNISA and so on. So I prefer yang acronyms compared to mnemonics, because acronym I can actually visualize ataupun just jot down the apa tu namanya acronyms arah the margin of your notes, basar-basar ke tu, ataupun using a pen with color yang boleh menarik perhatian, and then somehow terhafal you punya acronyms, and then from that acronym actually can helps you to memorize certain points lah. And then the last one will be revise often or repetition. This is important juga.
Yeah.
So I think that's all from me pulang, from my point of view. Do you have anything to add or highlight ka?
One thing to highlight is that walaupun tani dua in different courses and the things tani hafal tu different, tapi the general idea is still the same if you notice. Macam faham, macam recognizing the pattern, like repetition, application. Those things are the things yang common lah. Like artinya you can apply those things in everything you want to memorize. Tapi whereas yang macam like the only difference is just macam those tiny details on, for example, the way like you repeat it, macam the way you apply it atau yang lain. Tapi at the end of the day, it's still repetition and application kan?
Yes. All right, we're now nearly reaching the end of our today's session or today's episode. So I think to sum everything up, Jua, there's a quote saying, "To become master means to have sabar," because it does take a lot of time and it will never happen in a blink of an eye. So that's that. And before we end this episode, Flood to Youth would like to thank our invited speaker, Ms. Hamizah, for your time. And then last but not least, thank you for listening, and Assalamualaikum.